my dissertation focused on an approach called Bring Your Own Device in the Namibian basic education. So I did a behavioral analysis of students and teachers' intentions in mathematics education. And ICT integration in Namibian schools is a critical topic because we live in a global village where ICT integration in our everyday life has become part of us living every day. So it's important that we develop those skills into our students from school so that they can also learn to navigate through life as they move on. But also it is important because this is captured very well in our curriculum for basic education. And I think it's only good if we can come up with steps on how to integrate it, because those needs are identified and we can do research and try to meet them.
And what gap did you notice in the education sector that inspired you to take on this research at a doctoral level?
That's a very good question. Maybe before I answer that question, I could give a little bit of a background that in 2018, I did a master's thesis on Namibian teachers' perception of integrating ICT in education. But then from those results, I found that teachers were so eager to implement or to include ICT in their teaching, but they were hindered by lack of devices and infrastructure. And then I thought, how can we move from always identifying lack of ICT devices as a hindrance to implementing ICT tools or ICT in education? And then I looked at international articles on how different countries have overcome such a challenge. And that's when I got to the understanding about the Bring Your Own Device. So I then looked deeper. How can I move from this lack of devices to find ways how to integrate devices in teaching and learning? And then when I did the master's, I recommended that the Ministry of Education should look at the Bring Your Own Device, which is now allowing students and teachers to use their personally owned mobile devices in learning. So now I took that further at the doctoral level to find if even that model could be acceptable in a Namibian school or society, given also that people have negative perceptions about mobile devices in the school, or if they can at all be used as teaching and learning tools.
Mm. And from your findings, how would you describe the current state of ICT integration in Namibian primary and secondary schools?
Yeah, from my findings and even other findings already of research done prior to mine, it always ends with lack of ICT devices. But then I think we should move beyond that to how could we even use the little that we have. And I was so surprised in my research, majority of Namibian students mainly in commerce and OMSATI, where my research, because those regions were my research context. The students have the devices, and the devices are kept at home simply because we don't have a method or a policy or a framework that would allow them to use their personal mobile devices in school. In other words, the devices that students are having could be used for learning. We only need to come up with a strategy how to safely and properly integrate students' own mobile devices in the classroom. Because whether they are coming from the government or coming from the students, mobile learning only need a device. It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
And what do you think the Ministry of Education and also the Ministry of ICT and other stakeholders like the private sector and also communities can do to implement this in schools successfully?
First of all, I think we should appreciate that students have mobile devices, and we take it as a responsibility to teach the students how those personal mobile devices could become tools of learning in the school. And also, I think of something bigger, that students should be treated as students in such a way that they get subsidized mobile phones. Maybe MTC or Telecom could look into this, that if a student is buying a phone, it should be at a reasonable price, and mainly for the purpose of education. And also revise the current policy, it's not a policy, but the rule that we have. I think that was a bill which was passed, that a child commits misconduct if they bring a mobile device to school. We shouldn't treat mobile devices for students as something that cannot be used, while we cannot fully offer devices in the school. So I recommend that the Ministry of Education can work. Of course, this can be done through research, more and more research. How could we safely integrate students' personal mobile devices so that we boost the teaching and learning?
In terms of barriers and challenges, what are the biggest barriers preventing full ICT integration in Namibian schools?
That question is mostly answered that the barriers are lack of devices or lack of tools. But which is not always true. The tools are there. And even some tools are there, and that some in the schools are not used. There are schools with computer labs, and the labs are turned into something else, and those devices. The schools that have devices should really take it up to use those devices, because if we pack them, they cannot bring about the changes that we want. And also appreciate the devices that are coming from elsewhere, such as those of the students, which now my research has been focusing on. So the barriers are the lack of devices, which I put in quotations, because I don't think that we really have, we can outline that we have full lack of devices in the schools. I have seen at least a couple of schools that have devices, but again, those devices are put in the corner or or in a storeroom where learning is not happening.
And according to your research, how far are we from achieving a fully ICT integrated Namibian school system?
We are only far as much as our approaches could shift. If we shift our approaches and the way we look at things, I don't think Namibia is far. And I think Namibia has a potential to even do much better than other African countries. We only need to equip our people with the type of skills that they need. The confidence in the teachers, because some teachers are just scared of technology. Train the teachers. We should train teachers in a way that they are confident to implement ICT, to integrate it in their teaching and learning, because it's a cross-curricular subject.
And just finally, what message would you like to leave with teachers, learners, and also other educational leaders when it comes to embracing technology in education?
I would give this message that if we are not preparing our students to use technology from the school, we are preparing people for the society who are not fit for the society, and they cannot become competent even on the global scale. So let's do it. We are able to do it. We are capable to do it. We have all what we need to have, and let's change the mentality of that some devices are not useful, and let's come up with realistic policies to help students learn with personal mobile devices in schools. And I am also happy to collaborate with anybody in Namibia who is looking into this matter, because I have seen a lot of articles in the newspapers, some students, some teachers. So we can move and shift this kind of mentality through research and through educational research. Actually, we can do much better.